Ink wash is a fantastic medium to do very moody illustrations when it comes to black paper, but if you don't have the right paper, you might run into some difficulties, mainly with the usage of water. Today we're going to be looking at the Canson mixed media black paper, and the one that I'm using, it's a 9x12 paper and 147 pounds. There are two other sizes available. One is 5.5 by 8.5, and the other one it's 11 by 14. The one that I'm using, it's $10 for a pad of 12, which is a fantastic price for the quality of the paper and the amount of pages that you get. It can take water very well. It doesn't buckle as easily, but you do have to pace yourself. Allow the water layers or the wet layers to dry in between each other, because if you do wet it consistently for a long period of time, there will be some buckling. And even if that happens, it does turn to go back to its original shape fairly easy. But just to avoid any sort of buckling, I would pace myself, let the layers dry, and then apply more coverage afterwards. I also like to move around the paper so that I don't consistently work on the same spot, which can also lead to buckling because you're overworking that area over and over again. If you want to use it for color, I don't think that you can do every color medium on it and have a vibrant result. If you do a white wash underneath like I'm doing it and you apply colors on top, I feel like that would be a better option. Medium side I would use here could be pastel pencils. They could work fine here because they're not too hard to get off the pencil into the paper. But if you're using harder core color pencils, it may not work as well because there's no tooth or grit texture in the paper that would help you get color from the pencils if you have ones that are too hard. For ink brush pencils, ink brush pens, like those brush pens that come with the ink inside, yeah, that's fine. That would work fine. It's a good paper for that. But again, pace yourself. Don't oversaturate it with liquid, otherwise you will have some buckling. If you use jelly rolls or any sort of like pen with white ink, fantastic for that. It works super well. The paper does have a smooth surface, so depending on your lighting setup, it may look a little bit gray just because it's kind of reflecting a little bit of that light. But overall, it's a very rich black paper. Again, when you work on this though, I would definitely recommend having something like a paper towel or like a tissue paper, so you can use your other hand that you're not using to draw to hold down the paper without leaving fingerprints, because black does show fingerprints when they're too oily and you don't want to have that happen with your work. Although I usually prefer cold press paper for the texture and the absorption, this paper is fantastic for my style of working. Again, the price, fantastic. I love it. It's $10, which is about 80 cents per page. And it's a fantastic quality paper for the price. I would even pay more, like $14, but don't raise the price, Canson. I don't want to pay more, but if I had to, I wouldn't mind. But yeah, so I enjoy myself quite a bit with this paper. I've used it a ton of times. I have the black paper and I also have the white paper. Canson is one of my go-to brands of paper when I need to get anything for more professional work. This one, it doesn't disappoint. It's a very good set of pages that I got for very little money. The result is, you can see it on the screen, it looks pretty cool. So let's just recount the pros and cons. Again, pros, fantastic feel. It's a thick paper, 147 pounds or 240 grams or GSM. And it's good. It's good for a lot of mediums, and you can kind of beat it up a little bit and it'll still will retain its shape. Just again, be careful with your water if you're using ink wash or anything that uses water, because it will buckle if you overdo it in one spot consistently without letting it dry. The white ink on it, fantastic. That's also a pro for me because I predominantly like to work on white ink, and this paper makes it look phenomenal. And the price, another pro. Price is fantastic. The smaller sizes, the 5.5 by 8.5 inches, it's $6, and the bigger size, 11 by 14 inches, is $14. So it's a pretty good paper for the price, and you can use it for quite a swath of mediums. The cons, if you have, for example, when I worked on this piece, there were certain areas where I used the brush a little bit too saturated with water. I would start applying it to the paper, and the water that came off the brush would just puddle up in that spot. You can dry it by dabbing it with a bit of tissue paper, but you have to keep that in mind that if you do have a very saturated brush, there may be some puddles that form from the medium that you're using. And maybe you want that, maybe not, but just keep that in mind just in case you smear it and then you like make a mistake. Erasing on this paper, it's okay, it's not bad. Usually black paper tends to give you a bit of a smudgy look to it when you erase in general, but it does go away. It's just the initial rubbing of the eraser can make little streaks of smudgies, I don't know what to call them, but you can see where you erased. But that goes away actually. It's just you let it rest, the paper kind of comes back to what it was. And again, the con would be also, like I mentioned, the smoothness may not be suitable for hardcore pencils or for anything that requires texture in order for it to be applied to the surface. But overall, I would definitely recommend this paper to anyone looking to work on a dark black background if you don't want to use the mid-tone kind of paper that you can buy. And working on black paper is fantastic. It's one of my all-time favorites. That's where I feel the most comfortable, whether it be on black paper or scratch board. Just bringing things from the darkness into the light is fantastic. And I feel like I'm working with light, like as if I'm painting with light, you know. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, I appreciate you so much. Make sure that you scratch onto the like button, and then I'll see you for the next time. Thank you.